everyone, Novels Wonderland here. Thank you all for the love and support you've shown me and the channel.
Naruto. I founded a Jujutsu clan, Chapter 88 to 91, Chapter 88. The Hidden Mist Villages. Response 1334 words. The daimyo's residence of the Land of Water, serving as the capital, was extremely prosperous and massive. When these beast soldiers didn't actively surround them, many people easily escaped. A portion of them left through the city's main gate and immediately saw a row of hanging corpses. Lord Daimyo. Terrified exclamations continuously rang out from among the fleeing people. Those monsters killed the daimyo's entire family. How could anyone dare to do such a thing? Why are they treating the daimyo's corpse like this? Aren't they afraid of divine punishment? The panicked refugees carried this intelligence outward. And the first to receive the intelligence was not the Hidden Mist Village, but Orochimaru and Ryomen Sukuna, hiding in a temporary base. Killed the daimyo. The moment Orochimaru received this intelligence, his mind went slightly blank. One must know that in the original story, when he was hunted down as a rogue ninja, he sought the protection of a small country's daimyo through bribery, rather than force or direct control. With Orochimaru's abilities, he absolutely had the means to control them. But he didn't do so. From this perspective, these ordinary aristocrats of the ninja world were truly formidable. Using over 1,000 years to form this common sense that was like a mental seal. Just a piece of trash. What's there to be surprised about? Sukuna, currently dissecting the cellular structure of a chimeric soldier, spoke without looking up. These words seemed to strike Orochimaru's heart, giving him a feeling of sudden enlightenment. His previously held inherent notions about daimyos and nobles quietly changed. Sukuna-kun, you guys truly are unique. Orochimaru found that his perception of Zenshu and the actual situation revealed by certain events had a massive discrepancy. Although it was merely a created embryo, the first major thing it did upon breaking free was actually to kill the daimyo of the Land of Water. And the Land of Water was one of the 5 great nations. It was hard to imagine that this was a creation made by an old man who would join the Konoha hidden village. Seeing that Sukuna ignored him, Orochimaru withdrew his gaze, having some thoughts in his heart. If the entire ninja world knows that the monster that killed the daimyo came from Konoha, what will you do? Orochimaru walked to the side, preparing to order people to spread this intelligence. Hidden Mist Village. Inside the Mizukage building, the upper echelons of the Hidden Mist Village were basically all gathered here, getting stronger by eating people, and even acquiring the other party's Kekkei Genkai. The clan head of the Yuki clan looked at this absurd report, completely disbelieving it internally. If such an ability truly existed in this world, then ninjas and humans would have gone extinct long ago. Ao's gaze focused, staring at the Yuki clan head. This was seen with my subordinate's own eyes. If you don't believe it, you can personally go and verify it. If someone of my level had to personally do everything, then what use are your subordinates? The Yuki clan head raised his chin slightly, his face full of indifference. Just as the two were about to argue further, an aged cough rang out. Genji half squinted at the two. Seeing Ao quiet down, and the Yuki clan head close his mouth, he finally spoke. The ninjas dispatched are all elites. They wouldn't spout nonsense. But it's also possible that the enemy is deliberately mystifying things. We must be on guard, but we also cannot ignore this intelligence. After speaking, Genji turned his gaze to the Mizukage. Yagura Karatachi looked at the intelligence in his hands, the Kagaya clan, completely annihilated. His inner mind sank into that strange state. Surging emotions boiled like hot oil at the bottom of his heart. But his entire mind seemed to be separated by a thick layer of glass. Exceptionally calm, without any fluctuation. Just as he opened his mouth, before he had time to utter a single word, somewhat panicked footsteps reached their ears. The door to the meeting room was violently pushed open. A ninja rushed in. A disaster has happened. The daimyo is dead. Looking at the ninja who rushed in, the clan head of the Hozuki clan was just about to reprimand him when he heard this dumbfounding intelligence. Those monsters broke into the daimyo's residence, killed the daimyo and his retainers, and hung their corpses at the city gate. The ninja spoke with a face full of terror. Genji, who had kept his eyes squinted, suddenly opened them wide. His gaze was somewhat dull. A hint of astonishment was revealed on his aged face. Ao and Meitarumi beside him both had frozen expressions, their brains completely stalling. The 4 new Generation 7 ninja swordsmen listening nearby had different expressions, but all showed astonishment. The cold expressions of the remaining ninja clan heads also vanished instantly, looking in disbelief at the ninja reporting the intelligence. Only Yagura Karatachi remained expressionless, extremely cold. This scene was secretly observed by Genji and the others. Indeed has a problem. Genji's heart sank, just as he heard the intelligence reported by the ninja. There's intelligence saying those monsters were all created by an experimental subject, and that experimental subject escaped from Konoha. I think it was deliberate. Ao snorted coldly. He had no good impression of Konoha, especially Konoha's Hyuga clan, who actually framed him for killing a main house member. We must immediately kill that group of monsters to avenge the daimyo. Then select a new daimyo. Otherwise the entire country will be thrown into turmoil. Genji spoke with a worried face. The daimyo's death was absolutely no small matter. The entire land of water would fall into chaos because of it. Coupled with that group of monsters, the land of water was in danger. To prevent other countries from taking advantage of the situation, especially the land of fire, we must strengthen border patrols. The closest country to the land of water was the land of bears. And the land of bears was a peninsula with the land of fire right behind it. Among all the countries, the land of fire had the easiest time attacking the land of water. We must eliminate that group of monsters and select a new daimyo at the fastest speed. We cannot let other hidden villages think there is an opportunity to exploit. Other countries are fine, but the land of fire is too close. We must strengthen our forces facing the land of fire. That group of monsters cannot be ignored either. They completely annihilated the Kagaya clan and possess the ability to absorb and grow stronger. Their strength is probably even more formidable now. If we concentrate our forces to deal with that group of monsters, what about the border defense? The entire meeting discussed heatedly. Yagura Karatachi seemed like an outsider, coldly watching everyone. Genji suddenly spoke up at this time. We can use some other methods for defense against the land of fire. Hearing this, everyone else's gaze turned over. As an elder of the Hidden Mist village, Genji was the oldest and most experienced. The news of the daimyo's death has already spread. Continuing to cover it up is nothing but a futile effort. We might as well utilize it. Utilize it? The others were somewhat curious. What exactly should we do? Hold Konoha accountable. Ask if they intend to violate the peace treaty. Then inform the daimyo of the land of fire about the death of our daimyo. Ask if he authorized Konoha's actions. A gleam flashed through Genji's open eyes. Finally, leak this intelligence to the daimyos of other countries, subtly implying that the daimyo of the land of fire ordered Konoha to assassinate the daimyo of the land of water. Read advanced chapters on patreon.com/kaizo247. Every 150 horsepower equals bonus chapter. Push the story forward with your power stones. Chapter 89. Chapter 89. Shirsue's Inner Thoughts 1314 words. The people present were not political novices. They understood Genji's scheme with a little thought. This was to create suspicion between the daimyo of the land of fire and Konoha. Then use the death of the daimyo of the land of water to make the daimyos of other countries feel a sense of crisis. By forcing the daimyo of the land of fire to prove his innocence, the daimyo would absolutely not allow Konoha to attack the land of water at this time. Ao's eyes lit up. He stood up and said impatiently, "I'll go deliver the message right now." Genji finally turned his gaze to Yugura Karatachi. His head slightly lowered. His eyes shrouded in shadow. The most important thing is still that group of monsters. They must be dealt with at the fastest speed. I can only entrust this matter to you, Yugura. Yugura stood up slowly. Except for Utakata and a portion of those remaining behind, everyone else will move out with me. His gaze mainly lingered on the several clan heads. He also cast a glance at the 4 second-generation 7 ninja swordsmen. Land of Fire. Inside the Hokage building. Hokage's office. Hiruzen Sarutobi's brows were tightly knitted. His eyes looking seriously at the 2 scrolls before him. One was an inquiry from the daimyo. Its tone rather severe. The other was an inquiry from the hidden mist village of the Land of Water, asking if they intended to break the peace treaty. The door was pushed open. Danzo Shimura and the 2 advisors walked in. What happened? Kohara Udatane and Hamura Mitokado asked with some confusion. After all, the 2 of them were only Hokage advisors. They still relied on the village's forces for intelligence. Danzo was different. His gaze looked at Hiruzen with a hint of watching a good show. The daimyo of the Land of Water is dead. Hiruzen spoke in a heavy tone. What does this have to do with us? Even if it's for revenge, that's the hidden mist village's business. Hamura sat nearby, speaking indifferently. Could it be that the daimyo of the Land of Fire also wants to intervene? Koharu frowned slightly. It had only been 3 years since the war ended. The village had experienced 2 chaotic incidents, having barely recovered any vitality. Konoha currently did not have the capability to execute such a large-scale transnational mission. If elite ninjas died in another country, they wouldn't even have a place to reason. After all, that was the hidden mist village's territory. The ones who killed the daimyo were a group of monsters. And those monsters were created by that escaped embryo. Hiruzen spoke with a dark face. Koharu's eyes widened. She then said in astonishment, "The daimyo wouldn't think this matter is related to us, would he?" Hiruzen's face turned ugly. "This is a letter from the daimyo, asking me to go to the daimyo's residence to explain this matter clearly. If I don't go..." He didn't finish his sentence. But the meaning was obvious. If he didn't go, the daimyo would very likely cut off funding and supplies immediately. He would directly force him to step down, and have Konoha elect a new Hokage. Danzo was also somewhat astonished internally. He knew some intelligence about the Land of Water, but he didn't expect the daimyo of the Land of Fire to have this attitude. Subsequently, a surge of ecstasy welled up in his heart. If Hiruzen was ordered to step down by the daimyo, then he would have a chance. Just at this moment, Danzo noticed Hiruzen staring at him calmly. "During my absence, any actions by route must have the signatures of the 2 advisors, and must be accompanied by ANBU ninjas." Hearing this, Danzo's heart instantly sank. Feeling Hiruzen's gaze, he could only nod. Continue to monitor the Uchiha clan during this time. But do not act rashly. Hamura expressed his understanding, but suddenly thought of something and spoke up. "What about Zenji? Continue to monitor the training class. Other than that, do not take any other actions." Hiruzen took a puff from his pipe. "Monitor Fugaku Uchiha. Every contact he has with Zenji must be recorded." Over the past few months, Fugaku's frequent contact with Zenji had already given Hiruzen a bad feeling. On another side, inside the training ground of the training class, Itachi Uchiha protected his face with both fists. Chakra flowed rapidly, forming a highly effective defense in a stimulated state. But every punch that landed made him feel incredibly heavy. The opponent's mastery over the chakra enhancement technique far exceeded his. Hey, hey, hey. Why aren't you fighting back? It's too boring to fight like this. Gojo Satoru smiled playfully. He only used one hand, continuously attacking various parts of Itachi's upper body, making Itachi exhausted from mobilizing chakra. Evenly distributed chakra couldn't withstand Gojo Satoru's heavy punches. He had to concentrate most of his chakra to block. But gathering most of his chakra could only cover a small portion of his body's limbs. So he needed to move it rapidly. Itachi's eyes turned red. With a single Tomo inside, keenly locking onto Gojo Satoru's movements. He learns very fast. I think he should be able to finish learning the 6 techniques within 3 months. Zenji spoke softly, watching this scene from the edge of the training ground. Hearing this, Shisui Uchiha shook his head slightly, speaking softly. Just learning it is useless. The degree of completion is the key. With his mastery of the enhancement technique over these years, Shisui found that although this technique was basic and could only enhance the body and weapons, it could grow synchronously with the deepening of completion and the strengthening of chakra. It was a very excellent technique. Absolutely not as simple as an ordinary basic technique. It seems you have a deeper understanding of the enhancement technique. How about it? Do you want to learn this final technique? Zenji turned his head and suddenly said. This time, Shisui didn't refuse, but looked at Itachi. You must be suffering too. After all, no child is born wanting to hide themselves from their parents. The clansman's emphasis on strength completely ignores your feelings. But every clansman came this way. They also care about the lives of those close to them, which is why they awaken such eyes. We are clearly people of the same village. And our predecessors all sacrificed their lives for this village. Why do they treat each other as enemies? Shisui stood by and spoke in a low voice. Zenji watched the battle on the field, speaking softly. Everyone is independent. They have their own joys, sorrows, and angers, and won't change their own will because of things they haven't experienced. Those so-called predecessors are ultimately just written memories. What they personally experienced was the 9 tails. But the truth isn't like that. Zenji didn't answer immediately. He merely turned to look at Shisui, speaking indifferently. If the Hokage said that, someone might actually believe it. Shisui's heart was heavy. Unlike in the original story, with Zenji's guidance, he had a more profound understanding of some matters. The source of the Uchiha clan's current predicament wasn't anyone else, but the Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi. The reason the other party did this was also very simple. It wasn't because he suspected that the mysterious masked man was an Uchiha. It was because the person who caused the 9 tails incident possessed the Sharingan. This meant the Uchiha clan was fully capable and likely to do the exact same thing. If both sides cannot trust each other, the situation simply cannot be alleviated. Shisui spoke with a heavy tone. Read advanced chapters on Patreon. com/Kaizo 247 every 150 horsepower equals bonus chapter. Push the story forward with your power stones. Chapter 90. Chapter 90. Shisui takes the bait 1262 words. Actually, there is another way. Zenji's voice suddenly rang out at this moment. Shisui Uchiha immediately looked over. What way? Naturally, it's to become stronger. Strong enough. Zenji said this with a light smile. But Shisui's face fell. He shook his head. Stop joking with me. The stronger my strength, the more dissatisfied the clansmen will become. And the more confidence they will have to do extreme things. That's because you haven't made your stance clear. If you are as strong as a tiger and do not allow any fighting within your territory, then those wild dogs, jackals, and foxes would absolutely not dare to act rashly in your territory. Zenji held up a finger and wagged it. Shui turned to look at Zenji, his eyes showing some confusion. But after pondering for a moment, he frowned. This will only temporarily suppress the conflict. I'm afraid it simply won't solve the problem. Dead wrong. Zenji smiled and shook his head. This made Shui frown deeply, not understanding where he was wrong. Zenji looked at Shui in this state and explained softly. It can solve many problems. As long as your strength is formidable, you can suppress the grievances of this generation. When they all die, the next generation will naturally be able to trust each other. Shui had completely never thought of such a solution. But thinking about it practically, it was entirely feasible. In 20 or 30 years, the next generation learning together, growing up together, and experiencing missions together having a sufficient foundation of trust naturally wouldn't face the current situation. The clan and the village would naturally become harmonious. But beneath this beautiful wish lay two difficult problems right before his eyes. How to stop the relationship between the clan and the village from deteriorating further. He had to hold on for at least over a decade to let the next generation grow up. And how to ensure the next generation wouldn't be influenced by the previous generation. He let out a long breath, turned to look at Zenji beside him, sighed softly. You really went to great lengths to sell me this final course. This is 1 million Ryo. No matter how much effort I put in, it's worth it. Zenji turned to look at Itachi Uchiha. Just for 1 million Ryo. Of course. You don't know the cost of living until you manage a household. Besides, this seventh technique of the chakra enhancement technique is truly formidable. Do you want to sign up? Shui fell silent for a moment, not knowing what he was thinking. He suddenly spoke up. I'll bring the money over tomorrow. No rush for the money. I can still trust you on this. Zenji waved his hand and spoke softly. If you want to learn it, I can teach you right now. But I have to place a cursed seal on you first. Shui nodded, complex emotions flashing deep in his eyes. What do you need me to do? Just hold out your hand. Shui expressionlessly held out his hand. Zenji, acting as if he didn't see anything, gathered chakra onto 2 fingers and lightly tapped them over. During the entire process, the two were silent. The air seemed to grow heavier. It wasn't until Zenji's 2 fingers tapped the back of Shui's hand that a faint mark surfaced. A slight pain was transmitted. Shui's eyes instantly turned into 3 tomo. But the situation completely exceeded his expectations. A segment of knowledge flooded into his mind, accompanied by a warning forbidding the leak of this knowledge, and an introduction to the cursed seal. Is it really just the knowledge of the chakra enhancement technique, and some prohibitive restrictions? Seeing Shui's somewhat astonished face, Zenji burst out laughing. How is it? Very surprised. Zenji's demeanor immediately made Shui feel a bit ashamed. He lowered his head. I thought you were going to attack me. I'm sorry. After all, any ninja with a bit of vigilance would be suspicious. Zenji waved his hand nonchalantly. After all, Zenji had actively recommended this technique multiple times, using the desire for money as an excuse. Yet when it came to the step of actually making money, he appeared somewhat uncaring. Under these circumstances, any qualified ninja would be suspicious. Just remember to bring the money to me. Now, study this new knowledge well. It will be of great help in enhancing your strength. Zenji patted Shui's shoulder, telling him to close his eyes and properly absorb the knowledge. When Shui closed his eyes, Zenji felt a slight leap of joy internally. It was finally done. Hidden within that knowledge and the customized engraving was a small soul fragment of Zenji's. Although extremely minuscule, it was enough to monitor the changes throughout Shui's entire body. What's wrong with Shui nii? Itachi Uchiha's curious voice rang out. He had finished his training and walked over, looking at Shisui with some curiosity. He is learning the 7th technique of the chakra enhancement technique, refining his will into chakra. Itachi didn't quite understand this sentence. He turned his gaze to Shisui, whose eyes were closed. A moment later, a slight change occurred in Shisui. The flowing chakra suddenly radiated a very different feeling. A feeling that brought tranquility. But it didn't last long before Shisui opened his eyes. A look of exhaustion flashed by. That feeling radiating from his chakra completely dissipated. His eyes became bright. He didn't expect this final technique to contain such ingenious ideas. Turning to look at Zenji, he sighed. You are right. This technique is indeed very formidable. I definitely wouldn't lie to you. As long as you successfully complete the cultivation of this technique, your strength will definitely experience a leap in growth. It even has wonderful uses for the Sharingan. Zenji spread his hands. Hearing this, Itachi's eyes lit up. The death of his teammate made him care very much about enhancing his strength. If he were a bit stronger, he could protect his companions, instead of watching them die helplessly before his eyes. What technique is it? I want to learn too. Itachi asked directly. Hearing Itachi's voice, the two looked down. This is the 7th technique of the chakra enhancement technique. And also the final technique. But there's no requirement to learn the previous ones before learning this one. Zenji spoke with a light chuckle. Itachi's expression stiffened. He knew about this technique. But the price of 1 million ryo had deterred him. So he didn't sign up. Now it seemed this technique was indeed worth the price. I'm sorry. I just became a ninja, and don't have that much money yet. Itachi spoke politely. It's fine. Come back when you've saved enough money. After chatting and laughing for a while, Shisui left with Itachi. The eye that reflects the heart. The potential of this mechanism isn't as simple as just 1 or 2 dojutsu. Zenji thought internally as he watched their retreating backs. The next day, under the escort of the ANBU, Hiruzen Sarutobi set off for the daimyo's residence. When he arrived, he was immediately received by the daimyo. Hiruzen walked into a room, his face flickering in and out of the shadow of his cloak. The daimyo sat behind a screen in the distance. Some guards stood quietly on both sides. They were all ninjas. A few of them possessed Jonin-level strength. Read advanced chapters on Patreon.com/Kaizo 247 every 150 horsepower equals bonus chapter. Push the story forward with your power stones. Chapter 91, Fugaku Uchiha's sudden toughness 1340 words, 3rd Hokage. Is the death of the daimyo of the land of water related to you? The daimyo of the land of fire's emotionless voice rang out. Absolutely not. Hiruzen Sarutobi denied firmly. What about Konoha? I heard that experimental subject was left behind by Orochimaru. Lord Daimyo. Konoha is also a victim. For Orochimaru to directly use ninjas from the village as materials for human experiments is truly deranged. At this time, Hiruzen absolutely couldn't deny it. Nor could he reveal the actual situation. Letting the daimyo know that the experimental subject was not Orochimaru's masterpiece would only make him feel deceived. Once this feeling emerged, it would spread infinitely, making the daimyo suspect if he was being deceived in other matters as well. So he could only pin it on Orochimaru. Orochimaru. I heard he was your disciple. The daimyo of the land of fire, standing behind the screen, suddenly said. Hiruzen knew this couldn't be shirked. So he could only say sincerely. This is this old man's fault. I failed to keep Orochimaru on the right path, allowing him to go astray instead. I am willing to step down from the position of Hokage and personally lead my subordinates to capture Orochimaru. The daimyo of the Land of Fire looked at Hiruzen, whose hair and beard were somewhat white. He didn't agree immediately. He was also aware of the events in Konoha over the past few years. The multiple chaotic incidents had dragged Konoha down, greatly reducing the effectiveness of its recuperation. If the Hokage position was changed again, they probably wouldn't be able to handle a war that could break out at any moment. There's no need for that. I still trust your words. The daimyo of the Land of Fire spoke comfortingly. Hiruzen breathed a sigh of relief internally. But the next words made his heart jump up again. But just me believing it is useless. The problem now is that the daimyos of the other great nations all have objections. Then I wonder what must be done to satisfy the daimyos of the other great nations. Hiruzen asked. The daimyo of the Land of Fire pondered for a moment. There's no need to step down from the Hokage position. But you must personally lead a team to the Land of Water. Find the monsters that killed the daimyo of the Land of Water. And kill them together with the Hidden Mist Village. It would be best if you killed them with your own hands. The Hidden Mist Village. Will they agree? What if they turn around and attack us? Hiruzen frowned slightly. They won't. Unless the new daimyo of the Land of Water doesn't want to gain our recognition. The daimyo of the Land of Fire spoke very directly. Right now, the most important thing wasn't the Hidden Mist Village at all. Nor was it the new daimyo of the Land of Water. It was maintaining the majesty of the daimyos. The monsters that killed the daimyo must pay a heavy price. The priority of this matter superseded everything else. I will gather personnel as soon as I return, and head to the Land of Water at the fastest speed. Hiruzen spoke. After providing some intelligence on the monsters and some detailed orders, Hiruzen listened and then left. Hokage Building. Danzo Shimura and the two Hokage advisors looked expressionlessly at Fugaku Uchiha. Homura Mitokado was the first to speak. Captain Fugaku. Regarding the application to expand the police force, I believe we have already made ourselves very clear. The village's tight funds are insufficient to support this expansion. Furthermore, the original establishment of the police force is sufficient to handle the village's security. There is simply no need for expansion. Fugaku cast a glance at these three old fogies. His state of mind was completely different from before. He spoke with more confidence. The original police force was in the center of the village. Now it's on the edge of the village. The travel distance has greatly increased. The previous establishment is simply insufficient to handle the village's security. My expansion request is reasonable and justified. Do you all think the village's security isn't important enough? Both Homura and Koharu looked at Fugaku with surprised gazes, completely not expecting him to retort directly. Captain Fugaku. The village's tight funds are a reality. As the leader of the police force, you should learn to make internal adjustments instead of blindly expanding. Koharu spoke slowly. She managed the village's financial power. Even if there were enough funds, it was impossible to let the police force expand. A smile appeared on Fugaku's lips. He took out a report. The advisor makes sense. So I have decided to reform the police force. This is the detailed report. Although the police force was firmly controlled by the Uchiha clan and possessed extremely high authority, in reality, it was limited to within its framework, such as various appointments, promotions, fund usage, and establishing village regulations. Village regulations were not laws. The power of law lay in the Hokage's hands. So for things like directly increasing the force's establishment or changing the department's structure, the Hokage's approval was needed. The three of them frowned. Taking it and looking at the first glance, Danzo immediately spoke in a deep voice. A security force to deal with ordinary people. How is this any different from increasing the establishment? These people also need salaries. How is it any different from the previous application? Koharu also frowned. Fugaku didn't speak, merely standing up slowly. He had long had ideas for reforming the police force. It was just that the Sharingan could easily see through the disguises of those ordinary people, knowing at a glance who the lawbreakers were. Coupled with the clansmen's relative arrogance when criminals refused to admit their guilt and used lies to quibble, they would directly strike hard. But ordinary civilians didn't know this, causing the police force's reputation to always be poor. Zenji was right. Don't force a person to change their nature, but place them in a suitable place to guide them. Ninjas should deal with equally cruel ninjas. The security of ordinary people should be left to ordinary people. And the people the Uchiha clan needs to confront are not those ordinary people, nor the various major clans, but only the Hokage faction. Fugaku looked at these three old fogies in front of him. Or rather, just the three of them. If the three of you do not agree to the force's reform, then the police force hiring some assistance on its own does not require an application. Fugaku turned and left after speaking. This scene made Danzo's face rapidly sink. Watching the other parties retreating back, he spoke with an icy tone. Since when did Fugaku Uchiha become so tough? The two advisors also frowned tightly. It just had to be when Hiruzen was away. I want to investigate this matter. Danzo stared fixedly at the two advisors. He still wasn't sure if Hiruzen had been removed from office, so he didn't dare to ignore his orders and act on his own. Hiruzen in his previous state had left an extremely deep impression on him. Even now, seeing Hiruzen with a few more white hairs and looking a bit older, he still didn't dare to disobey his orders. Koharu frowned tightly, recalling Fugaku's attitude just now. Finally, after exchanging a glance with Homura, she said, "You may. But an ANBU must accompany you." The corners of Danzo's mouth curled up slightly. He stood up and walked outside. He had to get Root moving immediately. After all, what he wanted to investigate was not just why Fugaku's attitude had become so tough. Zenji sat in the courtyard of his home, playing with the three orb cores in his hand. Invisible fluctuations enveloping the entire village. Read advanced chapters on patreon.com/Kaizo247. Every 150 horsepower equals bonus chapter. Push the story forward with your power stones. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Novels Wonderland.